What if I told you the smartest economists in the world failed to predict the biggest financial crash in history because they missed the real secret to how money works? That real secret isn't some complex stock formula or insider trading tip. It's far simpler, yet incredibly powerful. Today, we're diving into The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, a book that won't promise you overnight riches, but will fundamentally change how you see wealth. Very simply, this book reveals the fundamental truths about how money operates in the real world. It shows you how people deal with money. And yes, that includes you. It proves that no matter how much you know about economics or finance, your psychology, personality, and everyday behaviors affect your money far more than your actual knowledge. Yes, more than your knowledge. This book will give you surprisingly fresh perspectives, making you rethink everything you thought you knew. Honestly, I loved it. It's a beautiful, light, and charming read. So, let's begin this insightful series, starting with the first profound insight from The Psychology of Money. Morgan Housel, the author, studied economics at the University of Southern California. He graduated in 2008. Now, what happened in 2008? That was the year of the global economic collapse. Imagine, you spend years studying economics, only for your graduation gift to be the worst financial crisis in generations. It was this jarring experience that shaped Housel's unique perspective. That same year, Morgan decided to work as a columnist, a type of journalist who writes opinion pieces for newspapers. He joined The Motley Fool, a financial company known for providing investment advice to the public. Morgan Housel himself says, "I started writing about economics in 2008. He also shared a profound quote: "To write about what's happening, I must know what's happening. To truly write about the economic situation, he first had to understand it. He realized he needed to analyze and learn before speaking or advising." Morgan says he started my learning journey and tried to understand real-world economics more. What we study in universities offers beautiful, proven academic science. But in the real world, many factors simply weren't taught in those classrooms. There are powerful underlying influences that impact everything you've ever studied. And this is exactly what Morgan began to notice. Economics isn't limited to just the scientific laws we learn. He argues, yes, these laws play a role. But there's another factor that plays a huge and influential role, and that is people's behavior. People's actions in the world affect the economy more profoundly than all the academic laws we study in universities. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. Morgan provides powerful proof for this claim. We've seen many batches of economics graduates, but not one of us was able to achieve the wealth they aspired to. And even more critically, none of us could analyze and state the real reasons for the 2008 economic collapse. He points out, you'll see economists and university professors sitting together in 2008, talking about the economic collapse, and each one gives a different reason than the others. This staggering disagreement is the biggest proof that there are many factors influencing the economy that even the experts are unaware of. Morgan learned a crucial lesson. The laws of money and economics are different. They are not like the laws of physics. An engineer who studies physics can analyze the exact reasons for a bridge collapse. Physics laws are natural, clear, known, and tangible. As for economics, it has no fixed laws whatsoever. And this is precisely what makes achieving wealth so difficult and complex. It's not a simple 1 + 1 = 2 equation. He explains, every wealthy person you sit with and ask how they achieved wealth will tell you different reasons than another wealthy person. And often they can't even mention all the reasons because they themselves aren't fully aware of them. Morgan Housel concludes, economics is influenced by people's behavior and psychology more than it is by the science of economics. Your financial situation and status are affected by your behavior with money far more than by your knowledge of it. It's not important to know that long-term investment brings you wealth if you're not actually investing monthly. It's not important to know that spending on unnecessary things deprives you of a monthly investment opportunity if you don't apply that information. Your knowledge about money is one thing. Your behavior with it is another. And your behavior plays a much bigger role. This is one of the most profound pieces of information about money I've ever encountered, even if it initially seems obvious and clear. But trust me, when we dive deep into this book, you'll find that Morgan Housel's perspective is chillingly insightful. Morgan says, I started writing about economics, and whenever I learned something, I wrote about it. Through this process, he reached a powerful conclusion. There are 20 key factors affecting the economic situation of any one of us. He states, out of these many things, I discovered 20 factors that strongly and directly affect your financial status or your economic and financial situation. He compiled these 20 influential points into an article he called The Psychology of Money. More than 1 million people read this article. So Morgan thought, if people benefited from this article, why don't I turn it into a book and delve into more details and explanation? And that's exactly what he did. Now, we're going to dive deep into the book itself. For this video, I was initially going to combine 2 of his key points, but honestly, the sheer depth and beauty of the first point demanded an entire segment. So let's go. Listen to this beautiful and startling quote. Your experiences with money might make up 0.001% of what happens in the world, but they account for 80% of how you think money works. In other words, your personal actions with money might only have a tiny, weak impact on the global economy. But your personal experiences and behaviors with money, everything you've gone through from birth until today, form a massive 80% of the picture you have of how money works in the world. The entire image of the global economy in your mind, 80% of it is shaped by your personal experiences. This is a very serious matter. Your personal experiences differ from mine and from everyone else's. Imagine that. Each person has a mental image of the global economy that differs by 80% from another's. How can we ever arrive at a single, universally agreed upon understanding of money? This vast difference in our individual concepts of money is precisely what makes the laws of money so unclear. The economic or financial situation can only be predicted by known, recurring patterns, not fixed rules. You cannot set one simple rule that says, if you do 1 + 1, you will get rich. For example, you might open a business in a good location with beautiful decor and a good product, and yet it doesn't succeed. There are reasons, but they are not as simple as we imagine. Like, if you open a business in a good location with good products and good service, you will succeed. You can't predict that with certainty. You do these things because you know they are influential. But always remember that there are many other hidden and powerful reasons at play. The idea is, we try to apply what we know is influential, at least. But it's impossible to guarantee results. Morgan Housel repeatedly emphasizes, money depends on psychology more than economics. For this reason, you'll often notice many people making what seem like crazy decisions with money. But wait, there's a reason behind what seems like madness, and Housel assures us, no one is crazy. What does this mean, Morgan? Sometimes we encounter people we know who are deep in debt. Their situation truly miserable. Yet, when they receive a small amount of money, they don't use it to pay off debt. Instead, they spend it on trivial things, not even true luxuries. They might already have an iPhone 14 and decide they need an iPhone 15. Morgan says, yes, you will see crazy actions, but be sure that those who did them are not crazy. This first point, which he titled, No One's Crazy, proves that psychological factors, personal experience, behaviors, habits, upbringing, or environment all play a huge role in the decision that drives them to buy a new phone instead of paying off their debt. If you could enter their mind, they might rationalize, I have a debt of 100,000 and now I have 5,000. What is 5,000 compared to 100,000? It's barely a drop in the ocean. Let me enjoy myself with this 5,000. Maybe God will make it easy for me to get the 100,000. Or perhaps my enjoyment with this 5,000 will improve my mood and motivate me to work harder to earn the 100,000. So, they find a logical explanation that perfectly suits them, and they live by it. They might discover this contradiction later, but at the moment of decision, for them, this decision is perfectly logical. Morgan states, there are crazy financial decisions, but no one is crazy. What you see as logical in your view might be crazy in my view, and vice versa. Morgan, in one of his most brilliant and beautiful sentences, explains, people born in different generations, raised by different parents, have different incomes, different principles, live in different countries, and were born into different economic circumstances, received different opportunities, and had different luck. They learn different lessons, see money in a different way, and deal with it in a different way. A person born into poverty does not view money in the same way a wealthy person does. and this statement is especially directed at the wealthy. A child born into a poor environment and family views the risk-reward rule in a way that a child born into a wealthy family simply cannot, no matter how hard they try. And this is a very important distinction. He mentions a striking story about John F. Kennedy to illustrate this. In America, in 1929, the biggest economic collapse in history occurred, known as the Great Depression. Years after this collapse, during the 1930s, writer Frederick Lewis Allen commented on this period in one of his books. He said, "This period, the Great Crash and the Great Depression, left a scar or a mark on Americans until the last day of their lives. It was an experience they would never forget. It affected and changed them, creating sad and gloomy feelings that they would live with and feel until their last day." Fast forward 25 years later, young John F. Kennedy appeared during his campaign for the U.S. presidency in 1960. A journalist asked him, "What do you remember about the Great Depression?" And his answer was genuinely shocking. Kennedy said, "I have not the slightest idea about the Great Depression." He continued, "My family owned a very large fortune, and during that specific period, that fortune multiplied many, many times over. We had bigger houses, more servants, and we traveled a lot. We didn't leave a place unvisited. The only thing I directly remember from that period is the day my father hired more landscapers. We didn't need them, but my father hired more so they could support their families and earn a livelihood." He concluded, "This is the only thing I directly remember. And honestly, I didn't know anything about the Great Depression period until I read about it at Harvard University." After John Kennedy gave this answer, people in America wondered, how can this person who doesn't know what happened in the Great Depression, the greatest historical economic event, run for president and manage the country? The only thing that helped him win against his opponent in the election was his experience in World War II. That experience had a great emotional connection with the people because World War II had ended only 15 years before that time. So John Kennedy's experience in World War II affected them because it was more recent than the Great Depression. And that's why Housel says a beautiful, powerful sentence: "You cannot experience emotions, no matter how much you read about them. You cannot truly know the feelings of the poor if you haven't lived them. You cannot know the feelings of being born into an environment where opportunities are almost non-existent. Even if you read millions of books about it, if you haven't lived poor, you won't feel poor." The perspectives we hear from the poor, the middle income, or the rich all express real and correct viewpoints and experiences. For example, as soon as some people hear a rich person talking about wealth, they might attack them. "You've killed us with theory. Oh, how beautiful theory is. You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth." Their viewpoints are 100% correct because they live a very different experience and circumstances. Does this mean the rich person's words are wrong? No. His words are 100% correct and flawless, and he is not theorizing. Yes, his circumstances might be different, and his opportunities are certainly different. But his words, if applied in the real world, are correct. All perspectives are correct, and all experiences are correct. When a wealthy person says, "I took a risk on such and such project," he is indeed talking about risk. But as Morgan Housel says, it's not the same risk a poor person sees. You risked a project whose value and capital were 1 million, or 5 million, or 20 million. When a wealthy person says, "I risked," it means they risked the entire amount, putting the company at stake, potentially losing its capital, and the entire project might even shut down. Yes, you did take a risk, but when you lose all of that, what will be the impact on your life afterward? That is the crux of the matter. If a poor person risks 500,000 and a rich person risks 500,000, the difference is that when the poor person loses the 500,000, it's not like the wealthy person. The impact on one is vastly different from the impact on the other. For this reason, a segment of people comes and says, "Don't lecture us. Talk is cheap." They ask, "Teach me what you would do if you only had 500 reals left from your salary to live on for the entire month, and you have a mother, a father, rent, and children, or whatever the case may be." This is real talk. This is knowledge. Wisdom is the believer's lost property. A person learns from anyone, whether poor or rich. You always search for what benefits you. It's not because your situation is difficult that you say, "Don't lecture us." He is honest, and his words are true. But your circumstances are different, and your circumstances are difficult, and reaching his words or applying them is hard. We agree on this. But he is not theorizing. He is speaking true words, and you are also speaking true words. And this next point illustrates exactly why opportunity isn't always seized, even when it's staring someone in the face. One of the most beautiful things Morgan Housel said in the book is this: the difference between the wealthy and the rich is not just that one gets more opportunities or is offered more opportunities than the poor. Rather, even the poor person's reaction to an opportunity when it's offered to them differs from that of the wealthy. They might run away from it, even when it is an opportunity. Why do they run away? Because of their history, their experiences, what they've seen, and what they've been through. He mentions one of the most beautiful comparisons between those who lived in the 50s and those who lived in the 70s. Those who lived in the 70s witnessed an incredible boom in the stock market. This chart here shows how stocks developed in the 70s. This growth happened over approximately 20 years for that generation. As for people who lived in the 50s, look at how stocks performed over 20 years. It's almost the same performance. There's no significant growth. Therefore, if you grew up in the 50s, your perspective on stocks will not be like someone who grew up in the 70s. Someone who lived in the 70s will say their whole life, "Invest in stocks." And someone who lived in the 50s will warn, "Don't go near them. I wasted money and my life for nothing." Each of us has a different experience, even based on the generation and the global economic situation we were born into. For this reason, Morgan says, focus on your behaviors with money, because your knowledge about it is not as important as your behaviors. Your knowledge of opportunities is not as important as how you act on them when they are presented to you. The financial situation you live in today depends on all the things we mentioned earlier. So if you ask, how do I change my perspectives and behaviors to change my financial situation? The answer is you must reconsider all your personal convictions and train yourself to get rid of them or do the opposite. I repeat, you must start with intellectual beliefs. If you believe you must spend to entertain yourself, then it's impossible to start investing and saving. If you always look only at the current moment, you won't see the future. This is a conviction you must change. Focus on behaviors, as they are the source of ideas. Regardless of how much you know that money is important, investment is important, businesses are important, or multiple income sources are important. All this talk is considered empty if your behaviors act contrary to it. So, this is the first profound point from the book. Your behaviors, your thoughts, and your beliefs affect your financial situation more than your knowledge about it. And the second crucial takeaway from this concept is simple. Don't judge people. Each of us has different experiences, different opportunities, different upbringings, and different behaviors and environments. There are universal principles that lead us to financial well-being, yes, but our personal differences are deeply rooted in our psychology. So when you try to advise someone whose financial situation is difficult and you want to improve it, discuss their personality, their behaviors, their psychology, their history, and their upbringing before you discuss their economic knowledge. The journey to financial well-being isn't just about spreadsheets and market trends. It's deeply personal, woven into the fabric of who you are and where you've come from. Understanding this is the first step to truly mastering your money.